Hey, this is Jeff Seymour, Director of History and Education at the National Civil War Naval Museum, coming to you from the deck of our own USS Monitor. In this episode, we want to talk about monitor identification. There are so many monitors out there that we want to give you tools to see the different ironclads and to let you know that there are so many different monitors out there that it can get confusing. Well, let's start off with the USS Monitor, the origin of the class. The Navy will build usually a series of ships called a class, and they are typically built very similarly to each other, and they will sometimes colloquially refer to them as sister ships. There are several features here that will quickly identify this vessel as opposed to later monitors. First of all, she's a little bit shorter than the later monitors, and one of the most important features to look for is the pilot house. Now let me direct your attention to a photograph of the Monitor that was taken several weeks after the battle, and it has already gone through some changes. First of all, you'll notice the dent marks. Those are from the Battle of Hampton Roads. But notice in the background of this photograph is taken toward the bow or the front of the ship, and you'll notice that the sloping armor that they've placed around the pilot house. This is because during the battle, you've got to think about the Monitor as an untested weapon system. And there were at least 2 rounds that hit the pilot house, and one of those rounds severely injuring and blinding Captain John Gordon. So one of the things they did after the battle is to put the sloping armor along the sides of the pilot house. Also notice, and this is another feature specific to this particular class, or this particular ship, is the 2 guns. She had 2 11-inch Dahlgren smoothbores on her. This will be important because later classes will incorporate bigger guns. And then, when the Monitor sank in December of 1862, this is a drawing of her last configuration. Notice that you'll notice the sloping armor on the pilot house, but they've added an extra piece to the smokestack, and this is to make better draw for the engines. And also notice that they've added a safety aspect to this. Along the deck, they've added chain so that the sailors are not so easily thrown overboard. However, it didn't work out so well because when she did sink, she sank in a storm, and it incurred some loss of life. Now going on, because the Monitor is not the only warship of this type that the U.S. Navy built. Next comes the Passaic class. Now you notice that these later monitors, many of them will carry Indian names. The Passaic class is actually named for Passaic, New Jersey, and this is part of 10 monitors produced during the Civil War. You will notice that the Passaic is longer, coming in at almost 200 feet in length, and is a little bit wider than the original Monitor. One of the things that you won't be able to see is, again, part of that untested weapons platform, is that the turret is going to actually be thicker. But notice here that they've built a full-blown smokestack or funnel for the vessel, and they've moved the pilot house to the top of the turret. This will be an important feature because from above, you've got a better field of view, and you are a little bit safer from line of sight fire. So these are some really important distinctions with the new Passaic class. Here is a picture of the turret of the Passaic. Now notice, again, the pilot house is on top of the turret, and here we've got the tonnage above it. Also notice that this one has added the 15-inch Dahlgren. The weapon is so large that it cannot fit through the gun turret. So many times the photographers would take a photograph of these monitors and just name them monitor. So it gets confusing for people who don't know these distinctions. Also notice that there's a thicker band along the base of the turret. It was a common thing for Confederate gunners to fire at the base in order to try to jam the turret. So they began putting a thicker base around the turret in order to help better protect the vessel. Here is actually a reverse view of the Passaic's turret. And this is a better view. The tonnage is off of it. It's actually laying on top of the pilot house here. So notice how the construction of the turret is a lot different than, say, the monitor. And then here is the turret of the USS Catskill, which is a Passaic class that is taken in mid-1865. You'll see how it's painted white, and this is something that the Navy started doing late in the war. The next generation of monitor is the USS Canonicus class. Now the Canonicus is a little bit longer, coming in usually about 225 feet long, 47 feet wide. Here is one of the Canonicus class on the James River in 1864. So there's very little difference in that time frame for these particular vessels. Now we get into bigger and stronger monitors, double turreted monitors. Some of these are quite large, however they tend not to be as seaworthy. The double turreted monitors are coming in sometimes between 230, 250 feet in length and 47 feet at the beam or 47 feet wide. And of course you'll notice these sometimes will have two smokestacks in the center of the vessel, and you've got two turrets, one fore, one aft. And you'll notice that they've got Army-style tentage, is a little bit unusual for these particular vessels, above the turrets there. One of the more unusual designs by the end of the war is an attempt at a triple turreted monitor. This is a conversion. The USS Roanoke is an old sailing style ship like the Hartford or the Merrimack. And like the Merrimack, it's turned into an ironclad. Not a full ironclad, but they put 3 turrets on top of her. And she did see service at the attack on Fort Fisher in early 1865. This is the USS Neosho. This is a river monitor. Notice in the aft section or stern section of the vessel, you have iron encased. This is for a paddle wheel. So some of these monitors they'll be paddle wheel river boats, but it is a monitor because it does have the rotating turret on it. This is a one design monitor, river monitor called the Ozark. You will notice that it looks almost like a converted riverboat. and it's got 2 smokestacks there. And then a later design of a river monitor, and these are, because we don't have some really good photographs of these pictures. This is of the Milwaukee class, and you've got several of these on the rivers. 2 of these were actually used during the Battle of Mobile Bay, so they do see some action outside of the rivers. And that is just a taste of some of the monitor style vessels or classes of vessels that you would have seen during the Civil War, and you can with confidence recognize some of these vessels in the photographs. And again, think about, there are a lot more ironclads out there than just the USS Monitor. So thank you again for joining us here for Curator's Corner at the National Civil War Naval Museum.